Hi there and welcome to this week's little live session. Our podcast this week is kind of a thing we warmed up. It's the Wakey, how to get out of bed. But what I want to talk to you and with you about today is why getting up early is the single one thing that you want to consider doing if you want to get your sleep schedule in place again. So let's have a look at what happens when we have a broken sleep schedule. When you have a broken sleep schedule, you typically have problems falling asleep at the time you want to, and you have problems getting up out of bed at the times you want to, ending up with bad quality sleep, fractured sleep, maybe taking naps over the course of the day. So what we typically, or what I experience quite often, that people try to do when this happens is to work on the fall asleep part. So maybe we'll just level up one step from here. If we're talking about our sleep schedule, there are only two points that we can check. So it's checkpoint number one when we go to bed and fall asleep, and checkpoint number two when we get out of bed. So those are the two things that we want to kind of control when it comes to sleep schedule. There's only one problem, or it's not a problem, it's basically making our work easier here. There's one issue with one of those points. So we cannot control when we're going to fall asleep. It's simply not possible. The more we want to control this part, the bigger typically the problems get. But what we can control is when we get out of bed. That's the thing that's 100% in our control. So if you think about it like that, then it's kind of logical to start with this point and to say, okay, I'm going to control this checkpoint when I get out of bed. I'm going to set it quite early, frankly early, to let's say 5, 6 a.m., something like that. And I'm going to get out of bed. And I'm not going to take care about the other part. I'm going to take care that I get out every single day. I'm going to track my success. Somebody in the insomnia group shared a great little sheet where, he tracked for every day when he went to bed, when he got up, how good his sleep quality was, if he took sleeping pills. You want to do something like that too. So maybe you have a look in that insomnia group and check out that sheet and come up with an Excel version for you, or just a sheet of paper, and note down these things you really want to measure it. And you want to get up at 5 or 6 a.m. every single morning to get your sleep schedule right again. So the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to eliminate naps. No napping in these times. So we're going to push our way through the day. We might be tired at points. Of course we will be in the beginning. And the next step that we're going to do is that we're going to go to bed at a certain time. And we're not going to think about sleeping. We're just going to have a rest. We're going to leave things as they are. And if you can't fall asleep, maybe get up again. So don't try to lay in bed and roll around for hours. That's completely not going to work. So get out of bed and return to bed maybe an hour later after you did a little bit of reading or listening to music, something enjoyable for you. But get out of bed every single morning. And there are a couple of ways that this process can be much easier than it is for most of us out here. So if you just tap into the podcast for this week, you'll find a couple of tips, but I'll just share a couple of them with you right now. I think the most important thing to make your way out of bed easy is to commit doing so right before you go to bed. So what you want to do is not only to say or set your alarm clock, but you're going to promise yourself that you're going to get out of bed at 5 a.m. And then you're going to walk through the process in your mind. You're going to visually see yourself laying in bed. You're going to hear that alarm clock going off. You're going to see yourself shut it off. No snooze. Snooze is forbidden. It's just going to make your way out of bed harder. So you're going to shut off that alarm clock in your mind, and you're going to get out of bed right away. You might want to sit at the side of your bed for, let's say, a couple of seconds, 30 seconds, to let your body kind of get into motion. And then you get out of bed. And this is what you're going to commit to in the evening, right before you go to bed at nighttime. And I am 100% sure this tip is the most important. If you do this, getting up in the morning will be so much easier. You took the decision, and there's no struggling in the morning, because that decision that has to be met has already been met the day before, and you're just going to get up. I'll share another couple of tips that will make it easier to work your way out of bed. So first off, you can use technology, especially when it comes to alarm clocks. I kind of love light-based alarm clocks. I'm not using one on my own at the moment, but I did for a long period of time, and I'm probably going to get one in the future again. It's just a light-based alarm clocks basically dim up the light for you over 15 to 30 minutes. So what you do is to tell your alarm clock you want to get up at 5 a.m. and it will start to dim the light a little bit earlier. So probably 20 minutes before 5, it will start to slightly dim light, and that way you kind of wake up in a natural feeling. At some point, many of these clocks kind of have little birds starting to sing, or you can listen to waterfall that just tunes in after 10 minutes or something like that. But it's really a more natural way to get out of bed. The only thing you have to do is to really be very strict with getting up. So when you are waking up, just give yourself maybe a minute or two, and don't jump out of bed like I would suggest doing so when you have a normal alarm clock, and then get up, and don't kind of fall into the state that you would do using a snooze button. Another good tip is basically to use these fitness trackers. They are hooked to our bodies, so they notice best when we move and kind of assume that we're in a light sleep state. And in this mode, they'll just fire off the alarm. This can happen through vibration, or probably you get apps that shoot off a normal alarm over your phone. But the trick is that you would set 5 a.m. as with the light-based alarm clock, and it would kind of start to monitor your body maybe 15 to 30 minutes before that 5 a.m. and get you out of sleep when it's most appropriate to do. And that way you will not feel as wrecked as when you get ripped out of the middle of your deep sleep phase, which is always a bad thing to do. That's the one thing that lets us feel worse in the morning. So I think those are 2 good tips to help you to get out of bed, or was 3. And think about doing the commitment thing. I think it's the most important thing. If you consciously decide the night before and say, I'm going to get out of bed at 5 or 6 a.m., you name the time, and walk through that process in your mind, then the decision is made, and the next morning you just get out of bed. So that's what I do, not every single evening, because usually I just get up. But when I know I'm going to be tired because my sleep is kind of narrowed down, which can on occasion happen, then I definitely walk through that process and get very clear that I'm going to get up. Or if I think, okay, it's not going to work for me the next morning, I'm not going to commit doing so. That way I at least follow through on what I plan to do. So I'll leave you with that, wishing you a lovely Sunday. And if you want to check out this week's episode, then just do so by, there's the anniversary picture. I forgot to take that out of the software, so excuse me for that. But if you want to check out this week's episode, just go to sleeptrust.eu, and you will get another couple of tips to help you to get out of bed in the right way, also to get in motion, and I think that will be very helpful for you. And please always keep in mind, if you want to fix your sleep schedule, there are only 2 touch points, and you cannot control and don't want to control the sleep part. That's going to take care of itself. You take care of when you get up and that you get to bed on time. So I'll leave you with that. Wishing you a lovely Sunday and, of course, a superb sleep.